Askreddit, parents of Reddit, how do you feel when your kid brings back a girlfriend, boyfriend? How do you decide whether you like them or not? I first met one of my kids' partners when they both joined us on a weekend away. We had a discussion on some general subject in which he disagreed with me. He defended his position rather than defer to me. Good chap. Good dad, too. I've done that with a few exes' parents and received some not so good feedback from their pops. It might be a small town thing, but I generally didn't talk to dads much at all. Moms, on the other hand, loved me. My daughter just started dating. She was mortified when I picked them up and asked if everything was Gucci. Next time ask if they're having a yeet time. Doesn't work in the sentence, makes it better. When they interact and help out the rest of the family. When my daughter didn't understand her homework and then her sister's boyfriend helped her, it showed how much he actually cared. I like to think I would do this, but I probably wouldn't understand the homework either. My 4-yo daughter introduced me to the 5-yo neighbor kid as a BF. She told me he's really good at running fast and he appreciates snails as much as she does. Needless to say, this is a keeper. When's the wedding? My husband and I always like the person unless there's something terribly wrong with them. First of all, we want our kids to trust us and never to disregard our not liking a potential mate because we never like anyone. Secondly, we would never want our kids to feel like they have to choose, it's their mate, not ours. Thirdly, most young people are fairly okay, so no point in acting like no one can be good enough for our precious babies. You're so reasonable, can you parent all of us, please? I feel excited for them. It's that wonderful time at the start of a new relationship and it's exciting to see them happy and enjoying this new experience. It's still quite new for me, and them, so as a parent I'm still learning. I've been fine with all the people I've been introduced to so far, maybe as I know that the likelihood is these relationships won't last, so for me it's not an issue if I don't take to them. Time will tell once their relationships become more serious. Mom, you're embarrassing me. I said, whatever you do to my daughter, I will do to you. I've been stuck giving him emotional support and validation for 3 years. That fracking bastard. At least you haven't had to lick his asshole. Edit to edit. Edit. I had a story about a great future son-in-law who impressed me with his basic decency at the age of 19. Reddit came to the astonishing conclusion that he and my daughter were having sex. Good thing I posted here or I never would have figured that out. If you don't know any synonyms for sex, read on. Are you sure he wasn't just honest and helping her slack off? My daughter, 13, wanted me to meet her first real boyfriend. I was nice and pleasant, but I knew it wouldn't last cause he was all looks and no brains. Of course, as junior high relationships go, it was about a 2-month ordeal. I think all parents should try and be cordial, unless the person feels like a serial killer or something. What flavor cordial should they try and be? It's about respect, if she treats him right, and compatibility. On the other end, not her dad, but my girlfriend's roommate is this old grizzled Marine dude. She told me that he liked me because I didn't try to get him to like, which apparently most people do. I was just myself and acted naturally, which he appreciated. Just be yourself and the people that will like you, and the people who won't. But always be respectful. You bought him a box of crayons, admit it. My eldest is 15, and boys in high school can be gross. The way they speak to girls, and girls to boys, is just so far out of line it makes me ill. But her boyfriend is respectful to her and her family. Most importantly, they're the same brand of weird. They FaceTime 19 hours a day, I swear, but yesterday they had an entire conversation about penguins, both using the same weird fake Russian type accent. He's her safe place and without very good cause, I'd never get in the way of that. That sounds very cute. Hopefully things continue to do well between them. My mother has always been accepting of everyone I've ever dated, but realistic about their faults. My family immediately welcomes them with open arms, but just warns me if they seem off for whatever reason. I think it's a decent system. This is how my mom operates. She let me make a lot of mistakes, but always told me what she saw from her perspective and her concerns. However, it always ended with, as long as you're happy, that's what matters. My parents both instantly liked the first super nerdy boy I brought home. He didn't even have to talk before my dad was beaming at him. It was weird tbh. I married the nerdy guy, so their instincts were good, so IDK. ETA, my first silver. Thank you kind Reddit stranger fam. Right? This happened to me too. I was having some doubts early on and expressed this to my dad after he first met him. His response was, he's a nice guy, just date him. I was like, if you like him so much dad, why don't you date him? Sure enough, I ended up marrying the guy. Closing parenthesis dot. Not a parent but my parents have talked about my boyfriends. They liked most of them but my dad said there was one he specifically didn't like right away. I dated that guy for over a year before he cheated on me with his ex and left me for her. My dad said he didn't like that guy because he reminded him of his ex-wife who did the same thing to him. Some people just have good gut instincts. Well, my mother's decision is 90% based on if she's Catholic or not, can't say I'm a fan of her method. Lol same here. Gonna be a rough one when she meets my family and mom's like nah, gonna support my girl the whole way through though, easy decision. Edit, changed pronouns to clear up possible confusion. Not a parent so I called my mom. She stated and I quote, I like all of them until they give me reason not to. Then I never tell you whether I like them or not, so I don't influence your own judgment. I cannot choose for you, although sometimes I wish I could, Mrs. Unappreciated son edit, spacing edit 2, yes I'm aware that my mother appreciates me as many pointed out lol. It's not her that's the concern. But I appreciate you guys sticking up for my mom, even when it's not directed to her. Thank you guys for pointing it out, hopefully this fixes it. Edit 3, year. I like your mom dude thumbs up light skin tone. My stepdaughter's boyfriend came into my house and we were talking about computer games and he had the audacity to tell me why Red Dead 2 was better than God of War. In my house. But respect to the lad for that, he stuck to his principles and a year later still argues with me about gaming stuff. You should have started calling him boy in your best Kratos voice. Nothing asserts dominance like a good Kratos impression. Well they've all been fine so far. Except for one. It's the only time I've ever gotten mad enough to kick someone out of my home. He tried to get me to believe that he didn't know what a potato was. That was a blast from the past. My mother-in-law assumed I was some sort of player when I first met her before my first date with my wife. Even told my wife that she assumed I went on lots of dates back at school. Jokes on her. I spent the entirety of my freshman year before I met my wife, enjoying the sweet internet speed of my dorm room and playing the shit out of Halo 3, Mass Effect 1 and 2, picking up drunk dorm mates from house parties at 3 a.m., and going on exactly 0 dates. After years of getting to know my mill, she just didn't want her daughter to get into a long-distance relationship, then end up moving out of state with me if we got married and I was still there, which ended up happening. Whoops. How's the relationship now? And more importantly, did you let David stay with Cerberus? Not a mother but I'm a sister to a lovely brother. He had brought some girls in-house in his teenage years, and instantly I would know if I liked them or not. The first one he brought was super rude with me and my parents. She would eat alone in the bedroom when we are having dinner, force my brother to be mean to me, etc. A few months after the relationship ended in a really bad way. After that brought some girls, didn't talk so much with them but they were nice and sweet, didn't last long, less than 2 months. The last one he brought, when I talked to her, just one thought came to mind, she's the one. 5 or 6 years later, here they are, living together. Edit, typos. She ate alone in the bedroom? My 5-year-old has a boyfriend that's in her class and I honestly don't know how I feel. I've met him and he's a sweet kid, but JFC she's like his beer wench. Edit, the beer wench comment is sarcasm, apologies if that didn't come across. Is he a lager or ale guy? Here's my dad's take. He liked my ex-BF at first because he was initially polite and friendly, and I was very happy with him. However, my dad started to notice red flags later on and his opinion of him changed. For example, when we came back to my place from a day trip, he had sulked because I didn't show the enthusiasm he wanted about his favorite landmark. My dad told him that he should forgive me, but he still would not stop whining. My dad later told me that his reaction was blown out of proportion. Basically my dad would decide whether or not to like any guy the first bring home based on the way he treats me. Edit. I did not show zero interest in what my ex liked. I just wasn't as over-the-top excited as he wanted me to be. Basically my dad would decide whether or not to like any guy the first bring home based on the way he treats me. Imagine that. What a radical idea. I have always instinctively known within seconds of meeting them. I've liked all but one of my son's partners, and the one I didn't feel right about was the one who screwed him up. My dad is the same way. But he never fracking told me. After breaking off a 2.5-year relationship and a year of being single, I finally met my current GF. Only then my dad casually mentioned he saw red flags early on for all the shit that broke me and my ex up. WTF man? Tell me this shit. Edit. Yes, I know sometimes it can go wrong when people try to point out red flags. It can be done well though. And me and my dad have the kind of relationship where we would rather the other said something than stay silent. Mostly though it's more that I wish I had seen them because they were not subtle. Deleted. I honestly hope things are better for her now. It's incredibly sad to watch someone you love so much and unconditionally, to be torn apart and molded into someone else because of their significant other. Most times if you speak up you end up being the bad guy. Life lessons are hard man. Not a parent, but this was my experience with my mother when I was a teen. So, as a teen, my mother pulled me to the side and gave me the gay talk. You know, the "I'll still love you even if you were gay" talk. I asked her why she thought I was gay and she said it was because I never bring any girls to the house. Guess what I did within the next few days? I brought a girl in the house. Guess what my mother did? She kicked her out and gave me a lecture on how inappropriate it was to bring girls to the house. Yes, it makes no sense. Well, next time, bring a boy home. I'm not a parent but my GF's father hates me for some reason. It's been 1.5 years already, it's gotten better since then though but still. Edit. Thanks everyone for your comments and support. I see that a lot of people are going through a similar situation. I know it will get better. If anything, when we can finally live together on our own. Stop taking all his booze and having loud sex in his bed. The only way to a woman's heart is through her parents. Sleep with them and you're in. Edit. Geez, thanks but y'all can chill on the upvotes, it wasn't that funny. Hacker voice. I'm in. Okay, so as someone who's been the boyfriend made to meet parents. There is one meeting I always loved. The dad is sitting in the living room with me while his daughter is getting ready. Dude seems very approachable. He asks me about football, which where I live, is a big deal. I tell him that I'm not into football and I would rather see the money go back into the community like the arts or social help. He looks at me and says that's what I wanted to hear. Then he points me to his record collection and says pick something good while Charlotte gets ready. So I'm looking through his record collection and there is a lot of stuff in there that I was already into, lots of 80s, 90s alternative rock. I notice he has Signals, Calls and Marches, Mission of Burma and Stick That On. He asks me why I picked something like that over a safe choice like Nevermind, Nirvana or Led Zeppelin 4. I just tell him, because this is the album that got me into post-punk. TBH, my relationship with his daughter ended but every time I seen him around town, he would always buy me a coffee and we'd talk about the best Scottish bands ever. It's never too late to date the dad. I don't have to like him. My daughter has to like him. Just like hairstyles. Doesn't matter if I like your hairstyle or not, you're the one who has to wear it. Now, if my daughter asks me advice, or asks my opinion, I'll be honest with her, even if it may hurt, because I care about her and I only want to see her happy. But if I'm not asked, I will welcome the guy, be friendly and kind to him, and keep my opinions to myself. Why? Because she chose him, and if that makes her happy, then I'm happy. Good parenting. I'm sure your daughter is happy to have you. I love to meet his girlfriends. In a very self-serving way, I think his ability to attract charming ladies reflects the quality of my parenting. On one hand, I like whoever brings joy to his life. On the other hand, I prefer to be around polite and well-spoken people. A bit of nervousness on her part indicates that meeting me is important to her. Knowing that being nervous about meeting family can be endearing is good to hear, as somebody who is a very nervous person in general. I have a 4 and 7-year-old, I'm dreading that point in life. Yes, I am here doing research as well, lol. My kids are grown and gone, but I disliked every boyfriend my daughter ever had, except for the one she married. I used to be a teenage boy and I know what teenage boys are after. It wasn't until many years later my daughter explained to me that a lot of teenage girls were after exactly the same thing. Smiley face. It's good to have the realization that teenage girls are just as stupid and horny as teenage boys. And if you have a boy and a girl, you can just lecture them about the dangers of the opposite sex at the same time. Lol. Met my daughter's boyfriend the other day. First boyfriend. She's 17. He's 18. I must admit I was a bit nervous and I remember very well being 18 and what I was thinking, wanting, but had a word with myself to be welcoming and warm and to treat him as an equal, my daughter's friend and therefore my friend. Anyway, he's a nice young man so it's all good. But to answer your question, I guess if he's nice I'll like him, if he's a dick I want. Either way, as far as my daughter is concerned, I'll like him. Treat him as an equal so no dick measuring competition? Opening parenthesis dot. I am nice to my son's girlfriend and my daughter's boyfriend. It's not my job to have an opinion on who they choose. If it all goes belly up, I'm there to support them until the next one goes wrong. Rinse and repeat until they find their one, or I'm dead. I've been the hated boyfriend for no reason. It really sucks and affects the relationship. My ex makes no secret of her opinions on the kids' partners. The only thing that does is stops them talking to her about issues they have in their relationships. Wish my mom knew that. I love it. I've never disliked any one of them. Why? Because they're into my kids so much that they are willing to endure coming over for a home-cooked meal to meet me. That takes balls these days. Why? Because I ended up telling one girl that if she ever broke my son's heart, I would break her legs. She broke his heart. Twice. She's still walking. I'm all bark and no bite. Laughing face. It's never too late to frack that bitch up. My kids are small but I basically raise my brother, 15-year difference, and his new girlfriend is unique. I am trying to like her but she is very much on the spectrum and get overwhelmed by my 4-year-old daughter. My little girl loves to hug people and doesn't understand why my brother's girlfriend freaks out when she gets too close. My brother, himself, has anxiety issues and I worry they are feeding each other's negative emotions. It's hard to tell because she is shy but she seems nice and makes my brother happy, so I am doing my best, but it's hard not to have concerns. I can't really say anything to my brother because it sends his anxiety through the roof. His previous girlfriends were fine but they weren't serious relationships. Not a parent but I'm more of an ass man myself. An assistant manager? We have an usual method, we let the dog decide. Seriously. We have 2 small dogs, a boy and a girl. Our kids are of the age where they have a lot of friends over, including boyfriends, girlfriends. A lot of these are new friends or ones we are meeting for the first as the kids are entering into different groups, teams, social circles. The girl pup insists on being the center of attention and greets every visitor with unabandoned glee, jumping, licking, tail wagging, you get it. On rare occasions, we noticed her behavior with a new visitor would be drastically different. After a brief initial greeting, she will back up a few feet, appear hyper-alert and bark continuously in a much higher tone like a high panicky shrill. She avoids all contact with this person. We used to shrug, laugh off these interactions off as a one-off, but when she reacted the same way over and over with the same few visitors, we started to take notice. Over time, every one of those friend visitors turned out to not be friend-worthy by our kids in one way or another within a few months. So now, we don't worry about it. Maybe we've got a bad case of correlation bias, but for now, we let the dog decide and she's never been wrong. Subscribe. Or don't. I don't care.